Hey, what's up guys? It's Rick with the Digital Divide, and today I want to talk about comic book pressing. Whenever I send in a comic these days, I tend to get it pressed, but the only place that I can do that locally is a comic book store called Brainstorm Comics. It's been around for a while, and every time I send it in to them, it looks exactly the same as it did when it came in. I've been really disappointed with their work, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to take a crack at this. I know the basics of how pressing works, so I'm going to try this myself and see what happens. The biggest things you're going to need here are an iron, and just make sure that there's absolutely no water in it, and never use steam at all. Just make sure it's very dry. The next thing you're going to need is some parchment paper. The reason I use this is because it's meant for baking, so it's meant to be inside an oven and it can withstand extremely hot temperatures. You're also going to need a white eraser. And then you're also going to need some cotton pads. Make sure that there's no oil in these and they're just plain cotton pads. They look like this. A lot of people use them for makeup removal. I grabbed some of my wife's. The first book I'm going to use as a test is this Avatar book. It was a free book that I got on Free Comic Book Day. I have multiple copies of it. So I'm going to destroy this thing. I'm going to bend this in half, and it kind of hurts to do this, but I'm going to put multiple severe spine creases in this book. I'm going to completely obliterate it. And in addition to putting some pretty gnarly spine bends and creases in here, I'm also going to crease up the cover here a little bit and just get it in really rough condition. So this will be a great experiment for me to see if I can restore this to good condition. Now I'm going to zoom in so you can see the damage that was done here. You can see there's some pretty bad spine ticks. It's kind of hard to tell in this video, but it's pretty messed up at this point. You can see there's a pretty bad crease on the front there. To give you a better look at this, I'm going to show you some images I took, so you can see how severe these are. Yeah, especially the one at the top there, it's really bad. And I'm going to try to get all of these out by pressing it. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure you have a really hard surface to work on that is clean. I'm going to put a paper towel here just in case there's any moisture on here, and then I'm going to lay the comic on that. This is our comic that we just completely messed up. You can see the pretty bad creases on the spine there. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to see how many pages deep the damage goes. So obviously I bent the cover, but the cover is not the only thing damaged. So it's hard to see in the video, but the first page is also creased. And then if we flip over, the second page is also creased. So we're going to keep going until we find the point where the damage stops. And it looks like it stops right about here. So this is where we're going to place a hard comic back board. And we're going to put that right there above the staple so that when we iron this, the iron doesn't bump into the staple and then tear into the paper. Okay, so now we're going to grab our parchment paper and lay it on top. And we're going to grab our iron, put it on medium heat settings, and then we're going to go ahead and start ironing in even strokes. You do not want to leave it in one place for longer than a couple of seconds because it will ruin your book. So just make sure the iron is constantly moving up and down the book, and try to focus on the area that needs the most attention and has the most spine ticks. I'm going to add some tape here just to make sure that this doesn't move around while I'm ironing it. And then you're just going to keep doing this for a few minutes. If you lay your hand on top of the book, you should be able to feel that it's very, very hot. So while it's hot, you want to grab a large flat object. In my case, I'm using this hardback Suicide Squad book that I have. I'm going to lay it on top, and then you're going to want to put a weight on top of that. In my case, I have this little steel case with about 15 pounds worth of weights in it. So I'm just going to leave that there, and then you're going to let it sit for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we're going to go ahead and lift this up and see how it's looking. Okay, so already I can tell that the pretty severe spine damage that I did looks noticeably better. It's still there, but it's way, way better than it was before the first press. And again, this is just my first go-around. I'm going to repeat this process with both the front cover and the back cover multiple times. The line that was going down here is almost not visible anymore. So we just got started on this, and it's already pretty impressive how much progress has been made. So we're going to go ahead and flip this around, and then we're going to start on the back. We're going to put our parchment paper on the back and just repeat the same process that we did with the front cover. And again, once you're done with the back, go ahead and lay your flat, hard object on top and then weigh that down. And again, in my case, I'm using about 15 pounds of weight. And you want to do this while it's hot so that when the heat dissipates, it forms in a straight line. And the back is looking noticeably better. I'm really surprised by how much progress has been made on the first go around here. But I'm going to flip through the inside. The inside looks pretty good as well. So we're going to go ahead and just repeat the same process again. Okay, so I've done this 3 or 4 times at this point, and I'm pretty happy with the progress. This is how the book turned out. This is the spine, as you can see here. It looks really, really good. It's hard to, I mean, you can see a little bit of where it was damaged before, but the difference is night and day. Again, it's hard to see on video, so I'm going to go ahead and show you, just to remind you, the pictures of what it looked like before and what it looks like now. This is the first before picture. You can see the top was completely destroyed, and now you can barely even tell that that ever happened. And then this is a little bit further midway down the spine, and then this is the after picture. And then towards the bottom, this is the before, and this is the after. It looks absolutely amazing. Now you can, if you remember, there was a crease right down the middle on the cover there. That is almost completely gone at this point. So right now I'm thinking, holy shit! The results are pretty awesome, especially for my first time trying to do this. So I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and try to press and clean a real book and not a test book. So this is a book I picked up recently. It's the first appearance of Ulysses Bloodstone. It is Marvel Features #1. This is already a pretty clean book. If you look down the spine, I mean, you can see a bunch of tiny little spine dings, but thankfully the spine is white, so those are not color breaking, and they should easily be able to be pressed. When I first picked this book up, I thought it was a 9.8 contender, but after closer inspection, there are a bunch of little tiny issues. Hopefully I will be able to fix all of these. There's a little crease in this lizard guy's forehead. Hopefully I can press that out. And again, it looks like the edge of the page here, there's a little bit of overlap, so it's kind of curling upwards. So that should be easily fixable. Again, this book just has a bunch of minor stuff. Now, if we flip it over to the back, you can see that there's one crease here on the bottom left-hand corner. Hopefully we can get that out. There's also, this is an older book, it's 40 plus years old, so there's some dirt there, especially on the top. There's a bunch of dirt. The other book I just pressed because it's brand new, it didn't need a cleaning, but for this one I'm definitely going to clean and press it. And I'll show you how I do that. First thing we're going to do, just like the other one, is make sure that we have a hard, flat surface. I'm going to go ahead and put a paper towel here just in case there's any moisture on the countertop. There should not be, but just in case. You can see there's a lot of dirt here on the upper left-hand side. So I'm going to put a hard comic backboard on top of the paper towel, and then we're going to grab a white eraser. The only parts of this book I'm going to clean are the white parts. I will not touch up any color pieces on any book because the color will rub out. So the only time I'm going to clean a book is on the white portions of the book. You can see that I've already picked up a little bit of dirt. You can see it on the eraser here. So we're just going to keep working up and down the spine of the book. I'm going to zoom in here and show you that I'm only focusing on the white part of the spine. I'm not going to touch into the yellow. And guys, you're just going to repeat this process. We're going to work up and down the spine, and then we're going to grab our cotton swab here, and we're just going to rub the book down. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and just give the entire back cover here a rub down before I continue trying to clean up the rest of it with the eraser, just to remove any loose dirt that might be on top of it. You can see I've picked up a bit more dirt here. It's not much, but we're starting to make a little bit of progress. So now that I've given the back cover a good rundown with the cotton swab, we're going to go ahead and continue with the eraser and just go through every white portion of the book to make sure that we get as much dirt out as we possibly can. This is going to be a time-consuming process. You do not want to press too hard with the eraser. You're just going to have to be patient and just lightly press on the back of the cover with the eraser on all of the white portions of the comic book that have visible dirt on them, and just keep doing this over and over again. Once you've used the eraser on the cover, just use the cotton pad there to wipe any residual particles off of the book. Alright, so I'm satisfied with the back of this now. Now we're going to flip over to the front. The front doesn't have a ton of white, just around kind of the title there, but we're gonna work around the parts that we can. Again, I don't want to use the eraser on any portion of the cover that has color on it, because this eraser will rub the color off, and you don't want to do that, especially with older books. With newer books, that's not so much an issue, but with these older books, it will definitely rub the color off, so you want to be very careful. And again, like the back, I'm going to start off by giving the entire front a light scrub down with this cotton pad. You can see I've got a decent amount of dirt off already, and then we're going to go around and use the eraser to just go ahead and get any stubborn pieces of dirt off the cover. Okay, now that we've cleaned the book, we are going to press it. If you look at the edge here, there's a bit of an overwrap on this book, so the edge of the front cover curls upwards. It's really hard to see in the video, but because of that, we're going to need to put the backboard on the front, under the front page of the book to support it, so that when we're using the iron on top, it doesn't bend that. We want to make sure that we can get that as flat as possible. Then we're going to grab our parchment paper. I decided to use a much bigger piece of parchment paper so I don't have to worry about it moving all over the place. And again, you're going to grab your iron, and on medium heat, you're just going to go ahead and cover the entire book. And again, just a reminder, do not leave the iron in one place for any longer than about a second or two. Just continue going throughout the entire book. Apply a light amount of pressure, particularly on the parts of the book that have the most creasing or need the most attention. So already it's starting to look pretty good. That the lip of the front cover that was bending upwards is already starting to get flat. So after our first go around, just like before, we're going to put a flat, hard, heavy object on top and then weigh that down for about 20 minutes. Okay, and after 20 minutes, we're going to go ahead and remove the weight and take a look at the cover to see how it's looking. So it's looking pretty good so far. I like the progress that we're making. Again, this was already a pretty clean book, so it's a lot harder to tell the difference on a book that didn't need that much attention to begin with. Whereas the first test book that I used, I kind of destroyed that thing. I mean, there is one noticeable, pretty noticeable crease here. Hopefully we can get that out. So again, we're going to grab our parchment paper and we're just going to iron this down. I'm going to focus a lot of this on that corner that has the noticeable crease, and just see if I can wither that down a bit. It's already looking lighter, so we're going to go ahead and continue ironing. Wow, that looks so much better. You can barely even see it now. So, guys, you're just going to weigh this down for another 20 minutes and just repeat the process. You're going to want to repeat this process about 4 to 5 times for each side of the book, the front and the back. And you're going to want to keep doing this until you're happy with the results. So this is how this book turned out after all is said and done. I'm pretty happy with the results. Again, this book was not heavily damaged to begin with, so the difference here for this book versus the first book is not going to be as noticeable, but you can see that the front cover is no longer curling upwards. This is a before picture. You can see how bad the curl was. It was all up and down the front, and now it's much less noticeable. There's just a little bit, but it looks much better. There was also a ton of dirt all over the book. Some is still visible, but it's a lot better than it was before. There was a little crease in the middle of this lizard guy's forehead. I was able to press that out, so now it is not there at all. And then there were some visible dings on the white part of the spine here. Again, those are mostly not visible anymore, so it just looks really good. That's going to do it for me today, guys. Let me know what you think of the results, and if you think this is a valid way of pressing books in a DIY method. If you end up trying it out, let me know in the comments below how it turned out. As always, thanks for watching.